Hey guys, and welcome to this call. So, in this call, as a title says, we optimize your environment for success. And the reason we're doing that is because you can easily get distracted in anything at home. If you've got a home-based business, you can easily get distracted. There's a lot of distractions around. But in your job, if you've got a busy job, like let's say you're a nurse or a doctor or whatever, you wouldn't let distractions affect you because ultimately you have to be fully focused at work. So working with this business is the same. You want an environment where you could be productive in a short space of time, not spend 2 hours sat at your desk and not really achieve anything. And I'm sure you'll really agree that not being distracted is really important, right? But often in our homes and businesses, we don't have things set up correctly to deal with this, to stop distractions. And honestly, if you want to make things easier in your life, you need to start optimizing your environment, streamlining things so that you can be more productive and get the things out of the day that you want to get out of and not kind of be distracted by different things over here, over there, focused on one task to get it done. Now, I want to refer to a book by James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, and he says that by changing your surroundings, you can place a hurdle in the way of bad behaviors, but remove the barriers of good ones. I like to refer to that strategy as environmental design, he says. And I absolutely love this. The reason being that you're starting to design your environment so that you can cut out bad behaviors and optimize good. Now, for me, I've used this a little bit in my home and also for my fitness journey that I've been on. So when I started trying to kind of optimize or trying to go for a run, trying to start saying, I'm going to run more. I'm definitely going to be a runner. All those things I used to say to myself, but didn't actually have anything set up so that I could be a runner. So that systems that would get me out of the house, get me out running on the streets instead of procrastinating, sitting on the sofa, not actually moving. So the things I did to improve that were to have a system set up so that I would be easily able to get out on my run. Instead of, let's say, trying to find my running gear, trying to find my trainers, trying to find my water bottle in the morning, rushing around, and knowing that I'm in bed and I've got to find those things is not going to get me out of bed. The fact that it's already laid out for me, which is now what system I would put in play, make sure it's visual. So making sure the system that I've got where I can see my clothes ready to go, they're already ready. I can see my running trainers are already out. I can see my water bottles ready to collect from the front. Everything's ready and optimized. There's only difference is me getting out of bed. And it's all about little tweaks to optimize every element of your life, be that from your health, from your mental health, or lifestyle, for business, all those kind of things you can tweak. Lots of ways of doing that. I'm going to kind of go through them in the rest of this video. So how can we set up our environment for success? First off, another great quote from James Clear in the book Atomic Habits. And I would certainly get that book from our e-library if you can. It's certainly one to live to and kind of change your habits if you've got bad ones, especially try and improve to make them good. And the quote goes like this: you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Now, systems are huge because ultimately they set you up for the goal. So you're creating a system that will get you to that goal. If you think goal is to be the fastest 100-meter sprinter, that might be everyone's goal. A lot of people want to do that, but ultimately having a system in place that's going to get you there is the most important thing. Both winners and losers have the same goal, but ultimately the difference between the two things is how their system to achieve that goal. Ultimately, what you're trying to do here is make things that are good, like productive things, easier to get to versus bad habits like watching TV, binge watching something, whatever bad habits you think you've got, making them harder to get to, harder to access, essentially. So they're away from you, out of sight. Let's say, for example, you come home from work every evening and you have a glass of wine, or you want to cut that out. That's something you want to cut out, for example, and you've got like a big wine fridge, or you've got a few bottles lined up on the side, for example. It's very visual. So when you come home, it's a trigger. You come home, you see it, think, well, I'm going to pour a glass of wine because I can see a bottle in there, open the fridge, it's in there, it's visible, it's a trigger. So what you need to do is remove that obstacle, remove that visible thing, put it in the back of the cupboard, put it away in the garage, wherever, put it somewhere that it's not visible for you. And then you should see that your habit will change and you won't come home because it's a visual cue for you to pour a glass of wine. It's right in front of you. That will be removed. And that's the first stage, kind of setting up your system, as an example. And when we say environment, everything that you're doing, obviously you want a workspace, but also your lifestyle around that and how your kind of environment looks. So, for example, for your environment, for your workspace, you want a space that's you go to sit at and you do your work. It's not on the sofa with your laptop. It's not away from, it's not somewhere else where you can have kind of a very limited, let's say you've got a cluttered desk, cover lots of things on there, things that can distract you. You want a clean working space where there's nothing around other than your laptop and the things you need to do your work, whether that's pen, paper, notepad, whatever, to kind of get you in that mode that ultimately when you get there, your system is set up. If you get to your desk and there's something on your chair, there's I don't know, a distraction that's not going to help you, then ultimately you need to make sure that that area is your workspace. And this doesn't have to be in an office, like I've got my own office here, but it doesn't have to be in the office. It could be something where you've got a small, kind of smaller living room, let's say, or a smaller space, and you just have a desk and a chair that faces the wall that is got your laptop on you. Then you see that when you come home from work and your laptop is a trigger to do some work tasks, for example. That will be a visual cue to sit down and laptop. And also with laptops and computer devices that you're using, make sure that it's not a laptop that you use for games or your kids use it for games and you open it up and it's straight into a game. That's going to be a distraction. So you need to make sure that the laptop has removed those things so that when you open up the workspace, it is going to a work task. It's not something that's also a gaming laptop, for example, because you can quite easily go off and do some gaming when you're actually the laptop, the device is supposed to be for business tasks. I want you to really think about the bad habits that you have. Let's say, I mean, like myself, I've got kids, so they're going to have snacks, which I wouldn't have if I didn't have kids, but obviously the snacks in the cupboard. So you go into the cupboard and it's an easy, accessible snack for myself and for the kids. So taking that away would then remove, okay, I'd have some angry kids, but it would remove the option for me to go in there and have a biscuit from the cupboard, for example. So making sure the cues for you are visual and that they're good cues. The bad ones need to be removed. The good ones need to be good. So like we said about the laptop, having that ready. Like when I used to get in from work, the day job that I had before I went full time online, the laptop would be out ready to kind of go in the workspace that I had. So it was there. I'd open it up. I'd get straight into any work tasks that I had on that day, particularly obviously dealing with kids and stuff like that. But then once I was sat down later in the evening, I'd be on the laptop. That would be the workspace. And it's important to keep them separate away from everything else that you are at the laptop. And that's when you're working and doing those things. Another thing you can do with the living space as well is make sure that chairs are pointing, because obviously if you've got TV and stuff, which most people do, have the chairs facing the TV. You could have the chairs facing away from the TV, for example, one facing the wall, one facing away. So you can, and that could obviously have books and stuff that way. You could have a reading area, for example. So even with the smallest of spaces, you can still make those visual cues easier and distractions easier to avoid by setting it up initially. But it's important to remember that the real reasons habits matter is not because they can get you better results. The main thing is that they can help you change your beliefs about yourself. This is where your identity is shifting to be a more productive person, a more creative person. Whereas you hear a lot of people talk about their beliefs in terms of what they believe about themselves. I'm not good with numbers, etc., etc. So those beliefs, and we talk about this quite a lot in some of the training that we do as well, with regards to limiting beliefs, things that limit us, and your habits start to change the identity. Your identity essentially is to shift it to the goal or the end goal that you're trying to be. But you also want to embody that a little bit. So as we're going to go into this now in a few slides, and just make sure you fully understand how powerful kind of environment and habits are. As I said, beliefs, like things like I'm trying to be healthier, I'm trying to quit smoking, I'm trying to be more productive. If someone asks you, you're out with friends and you're kind of trying to quit smoking, and someone says to you, "Oh, would you like you regularly smoke with those people, or you regularly drink with those people, whatever it may be," and you say, "I'm trying to quit," you haven't fully embodied the identity of a non-smoker. You're just saying, "I'm trying to quit. I'm trying to stay away from it." Not versus actually, I'm a non-smoker, and actually saying those words out loud start to really put an identity shift for yourself, so that you can really see that you're changing from I'm someone who's trying to quit to actually no, I'm a non-smoker, and that starts to change the beliefs. So switching I'm trying to be healthier to I am someone that values my health, from I'm trying to quit smoking to I'm a non-smoker, from I'm trying to be more productive to I am someone who goes and gets the work done, who gets on with 30 minutes of work in the morning, whatever that may be. You're shifting the belief, which is really important because that's starting to shift their belief and identity about what you're trying to achieve. And as I said, like your habits are how you embody your identity. So when you make your bed each day, you embody the identity of an organized person. When you write each day, you embody the identity of a creative person, someone who writes. And when you train, maybe you go to the gym each day, you embody the identity of an athletic person. I personally have been trained at the gym pretty consistently since I was like 18 years old. And I've embodied the identity of if I don't go to the gym for a few days, suddenly I start feeling a bit like anxious about going to the gym. I haven't been. I need to go. I need to go. There's urgency. So I've got that identity deep down inside me that knows I'm a kind of healthy person. I'm someone that goes to the gym. I'm someone that works out. So when I don't do that, my kind of beliefs and stuff start kind of saying to you, why haven't you gone to the gym? Like all those kind of things. So my identity is that I'm someone who trains, who goes to the gym. And the more you do each of these, the more you affirm your identity. So you're affirming to yourself the identity, and that helps the belief as it grows about yourself. So you're shifting that belief. And this might be a belief that you've held for a number of years, that you just kind of believe that you weren't this type of person or weren't that type of person, for example. So we're trying to shift that with little changes. So this is how a habit works. This is in Atomic Habits as well. So obviously, if you've got the book, if you can get hold of the book, definitely read it. It kind of breaks down how how a kind of habit is structured. So it's called the habit loop. Okay, and the cue is the trigger that initiates the habit. So we talked about wine on the table earlier in this video. Coming home, seeing a bottle of wine, drinking the bottle of wine, for example, that's a trigger. The desire or urge that compels you to take action. So the craving to drink it, the action you take in response to the cue and the craving, so the actual drinking of it, and the gratification you receive. So feeling good because you had to drink, the reward of what you feel. That's how a habit works. You know what reward you're getting from it because you're craving it, and the response is ultimately giving you that. Here's this in an actual habit. So you might be someone that looks at their phone first thing in the morning, or might have notifications on allowed a lot of the time, for example. So the cue is the notification goes off. So you're middle of a task, middle of doing something, middle of I don't know, spend time with family, wherever you could be, trying to do some work, maybe on a laptop, and you don't need your phone, but your phone goes off. You see that you have to see the alert because the craving is to see what the alert is, or maybe it's a message from someone that you need to see. It's important, for example. You pick up your phone, which is a response to the craving, essentially seeing the alert. You pick up your phone, check it, you see what it is. It's probably nothing, not very important, and you satisfy the craving. So here's how to break a bad habit. So we talked about, again, the wine earlier, it not being on the table, for example, various different examples of this, but the cue is to make it invisible. So don't have the bottle of wine there. Make it less attractive. Put it further away. Make it harder to get to. Maybe put it in the garage and you've got boxes to get through and get past to get to it, for example. Reframe your mindset. Highlight the benefits of avoiding your bad habit. Response, make it difficult. Increase friction. As I said, in kind of craving, make it difficult. Increase the number of steps between you and your bad habit. And again, make it unsatisfying. So obviously, if you like the glass of wine in the evening that satisfies you and it feel like it takes the edge off, get someone to hold you accountable to it. Ask someone to watch your behavior. Make sure someone's checking on you. See if someone's kind of, let's say you've got a partner at home and you might want to both do it together and stop kind of that in the, like drinking in the evening, for example. Then you need to hold each other accountable, and that could really help with kind of getting rid of that habit that's there, that bad habit. And this is how to create good habits. So now we're all about kind of creating the good habits for our business and for productivity and for personal development, all those kind of things. So make it obvious. Let's say you wanted to read before you went to bed, read 10 pages. Let's say, make it obvious. Design your environment, make the cues good habits obvious and visible. So what could you do? You could put the book on your pillow, for example, before you leave work in the morning or before you go out. So that it's there when you get home. Make it attractive. You could make it that you get into bed and you're kind of tucked up nice and cozy, and you make those 10 pages attractive. Make it easy, reduce friction, decrease the number of steps in you and your good habits. So have the page and the book ready to go, and make it satisfying. Use reinforcement. Give yourself an immediate reward when you complete your habit. That could be all sorts of things that you do once you've done those 10 pages. But it's up to you how you kind of reward yourself at that point. But ultimately, it's trying to create it as satisfying as possible so that you will complete those habits on a daily basis. So let's identify a habit that we want to create. Okay. For example, let's say we want to be more active, and you might already do this, but let's say we want to target 10,000 steps per day, right? So how would you do that? How would you start that habit? How would you start making it possible for yourself? So how would you make it obvious? I want you to start asking yourself, how would you make it obvious? How would you make it attractive? How would you make it easy? How would you make it satisfying? So you could make it obvious by a watch or a Fitbit to track it. So if you've got an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, you can track your steps with those quite easily. Make it attractive. Do it with a partner or a friend. Hold yourself accountable. So if you've got someone up home you're doing 10,000 steps with, or maybe someone, one of your friends is doing it, then make sure you're doing it with them so that you can hold yourself accountable. It makes it more attractive to you because you can almost challenge against each other to see how many the other person is doing. Make it easy. So if you're going to do, let's say, to get 10,000 steps and you work in an office or it's a bit tougher for you, maybe you could aim to get 5,000 in the morning, for example. You could get your shoes and stuff ready to kind of just literally just go out for a walk for 20 to 30 minutes. That's going to get you around about 5,000 steps. So get 30 minutes of walking done first thing. And again, it can be inside or out. You might even have a treadmill at home you can step on or even just walk around the house. But if you've got a watch, you're going to be able to track it and make it satisfying. Set up notifications like, no, you're 50% done, 80% done, 100% complete, so that you know that you've done your 10,000 steps. And at that point, you can rest. So your environmental habits. Okay. So what do you want to improve? Do you want to improve your productivity, creativity, personal development, health? So what are the habits that improve that? What are the habits that improve your health? Like we just touched on with the 10,000 steps. What are the habits that improve your personal development? What are the habits that improve your creativeness or creativity? Sorry. What's your habits that are going to improve your productivity? What habits are they? And then how would you make them obvious? How would you make it attractive? How would you make it easy? And how would you make it satisfying? So I want you to write out those kind of habits that you would get that you want to create, sorry, from those tasks. And if there's other things you want to do, then write them out. So if it is remove kind of getting rid of bad habits and creating good habits, then what do you need to do? How are you going to make it obvious for yourself? How would you make it more attractive? How do you make it easy? So making everything easy is going to help you develop your systems so that you can achieve your goals. But you need the systems in place first. So making sure that it's obvious, it's attractive, it's easy, it's satisfying. Once you've got those systems in place, and suddenly the habit becomes a daily thing that you don't even think about. But at the start, you're going to have to put those things in place. So I hope that's helped. Thanks for watching. I hope it's helped kind of you get clearer on your environment, on what you're trying to create, on all the tasks that you want to improve and the habits you want to improve and how you go about improving them. Now we've got busy lives, things going on. So make sure that you can make those kind of things possible with certain little changes, even if it's just reading a book 10 pages a day, like that could be put on your bedside cabinet or bedside, kind of like a pillow, for example, just before you go to bed. You know it's there, and you can get those 10 pages done. It's just little things that are going to improve things. And we're looking for that 1% or that very small percentage improvement every day, which is going to create a really better kind of habits for yourself and overall going to improve your life drastically over the course of time. So as I said, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.